orientation. We're talking about life skills and also the basic skills of the 2020s. So we're trying to look into the future because, of course, any education and learning ideally is done with the future in mind, and not only for today. And we're going to have quite a few presentations. So there's going to be, you can see the program of this workshop. Our speakers are Sari Pohjola, Stina Höver-Christensen, Nina Hjelt, Virpi Markkanen, and Jenny Wester, and they're probably going to introduce themselves during their presentations. But we get examples from Denmark and Finland during this presentation, and of course presentation of a survey on essential skills that you've hopefully replied to.
Okay, so welcome also on my behalf. My name is Sari Pohjola and I work at the Finnish Lifelong Learning Foundation. And at the same time, I represent a European Association for the Education of Adults, which is IAEA in short. And I do communication work for IAEA. So we have this kind of joint cooperation between the two organizations. And IAEA has been involved in this kind of project about life skills, which I talked to you very briefly before I let the other participants to speak. And then Stina is going to talk about the life skills concept in the Danish context. And then Nina and Virpi are going to talk about the Finnish version of this kind of project. And then after that, we're going to have a task to do in the breakout rooms. And then Nina's going to instruct you how to do that. And then last, Jenny Wester from Finnish EPALE is going to go through this task that you have completed and tell you how to further develop your ideas and how EPALE could be used for networking and sharing best practices. So IAEA was involved in this kind of project called Life Skills for Europe, which developed this kind of model, which you can see on the screen at the moment, which has like 8 different capabilities that are related to everyday world, what we need to know. And they have defined this model as life skills is constituent part of capabilities for life and work in a particular social, cultural, and environmental context. The types of life skills emerge as response to the needs of individual in real life situations. So what is key about this model is that life skills are always context related. So what is important life skills at the moment might not be the most important skills to have in 10 years time. And also life skills are always related to the needs of the individual. So they're always like depending on the individual's needs, what they challenges that they encounter in their lives and so on. And all kinds of teaching that is based on this life skills model should be organized so that it's not just providing the standard course for everybody, but more like tailor-making learning based on the needs of the individual. So it's like learner-centered model. And yeah, and so this one includes the basic skills that are traditionally considered as basic skills like literacy, numeracy, digital skills, but also there's civic capabilities, environmental capabilities, financial capabilities, and what's important currently is health capabilities. And you can, if you go to the website where there's a link below on the slide, you can find more information about this model, how it's been used in this project, and there's good practices, etc. And Stina will, the Danish Adult Education Association has also been involved in this project, so Stina will tell how they have used this and adapted to the Danish context. But then you can go to the next slide. I just wanted to briefly show you a couple of webinars and courses that IAEA has been organizing. The first one is currently ongoing, so you can participate in the upcoming webinars and find more information there on the website. And this course is kind of related to digital skills, and it has this kind of orientation to look into change-oriented adult education, how adult education can create change in society or individuals' lives. And the second one is already completed, but you can find the recordings on the website. And that is more related to the upskilling pathway strategy and basic skills learning provision. So I just wanted to briefly show you these courses, and you will get the slides later, so you can then find the links there as well. Okay, now I move on to Stine, so you can continue.
My name is Stine, and I work for a Danish organization called Danish Adult Education Association. It's an umbrella organization for the non-formal adult education sector in Denmark. And as Sari just said, we were involved in the project on Lifeskills. We were one of the 5 partners in the project. And I've put the link to the material for the project as well on my slide. So if you want to know more about the specific project, you can go into this page and find the different materials that we made. But I'll start with telling you a bit about the general learning and teaching principles that we found in the project while we were collecting the different good cases on how to teach life skills. And then I'll give you an example of a Danish course that were involved in the project, and then show you an illustration of how we kind of took the concept into the Danish context. But these are the teaching and learning principles described in the project on how we can promote the learning that we saw, and it has different these 4 bullets, and of course they are not a final recipe on how to do this, but it's some fundamental pedagogical foundation for learners to develop life skills. And it's a holistic and learner-centered approach, aiming at creating a safe learning environment where learners can unfold their potential and engage in learning. And of course, developing life skills is a process involving many different elements. So these 4 bullets are not the complete recipe. But if we dive a bit into them, you can see the first one is this, that the learning has to respond to the identified needs of the learners, meaning that the learning should match the learner's need and give them the relevant knowledge for solving everyday problems. And as Sari also said, we saw a lot of these tailor-made courses. And the courses also has to involve the learners and engaging them and giving them responsibility in designing and deliver the course. And by having these facilitative approaches, the learners hopefully will feel very safe and confident in the learning atmosphere. So it's about creating this trustful atmosphere so everyone can feel safe and dare to try things off, and also to make this inclusive in learning environment to create the sense of learning community. So it's one of the core things in this aspects is also about boosting motivation for learning and to make the learners feel engaged in learning and further learning as well. And we also saw that the approach contributed to change old perspectives on learning, where it's connected to bad experience and failures and exams and these things that's not really boosting motivation. And one of the learners in the, I don't have the full quote on my screen. Let's see. Well, that's a quote from one of the learners that was involved in in a project in UK, and they were also partner in the project. That's why it's here. But he says, I think the learning course, it's shown me the different pathways that I hadn't thought about to a long-term career. What I particularly like about the project is the fun element of it. It doesn't feel like structured learning. I made lots of useful connection when I was there as well. So the fun element, it's here described as a contrast to the structured learning, which is often connected to the formal learning system with a strict curriculum. So it's about starting the positive learning experiences, where learning is about making new relations and having fun. And one of the partners, she said about the project that it's kind of turning the traditional model upside down. We're not using a fixed curriculum and putting the learner into it, but we're building a learning course based on the learner's needs. And this is a picture from one of the Danish courses that we collected them in as one of the good examples on how the life skills are developed. And it's an example where many learning aspects are present. And it's a course called Recycling Design, and it was a local provider of a non-formal adult education association who first got the idea for the course. And she wanted to contribute to the integration of refugee women by making this course for both Danish and refugee women. And in the course, the women, they meet to share the common interest in needlework once or twice a week. And the course is characterized by having this very informal and relaxed and trustful atmosphere and a dynamic and flexible structure in order to meet the learner's needs. And there is an explicit focus on language learning, even though it's a course on needlework. And the teacher, she encouraged the women to learn 3 and 4 new words in every class. And the provider of the course, she says that the learning is dialogue-based, and that the women, they dare to ask questions here that they wouldn't have done in regular language classes. And concerning the flexibility, the provider, she saw for some it was very hard to pay the participant fee, so they decided that the women could bring food instead of paying the fee. And the sharing of food was very much contributing to the positive learning environment in the course, because eating together and tasting food from different countries and talking about the ingredients, that's very valuable for the learning environment, for making this trustful atmosphere. And it's contributing to this mutual cultural understanding. And actually the group also went to the Danish parliament one day, because one of the teachers, she had an uncle, he was a guard in the parliament, so he arranged a tour for the women into the Danish parliament, where they got a special guided tour in the parliament, and they got knowledge about the Danish political system as well. And there's also in the course been a talk about the Danish healthcare system, how to access it, and the price of going to a dentist and how to do it. So she told me that the next time she would invite a dentist to come into the course on a voluntary basis and let the women ask her questions about the healthcare system, etc. So a lot of other things are going on besides needlework in this course, even though that's the name for the course. And it might not be new to the one of you who are working in the non-formal adult education sector. And this is a picture from an event the women, they decided to make for themselves. They went to the local library and had a fashion show based on the things that they have created in the course, and they sold some of the things. And since there is no money for materials, the materials are used they are recycled. So the women also get a lot of knowledge about recycling material and sustainability as well. So even though the course is on the common interest in needlework, a lot of other things are going on. And as I just said, the language teaching and the cultural understanding and the knowledge sharing concerning everyday life and the introduction to the Danish political system and to the healthcare system. So this is an example of how to kind of incorporate life skills in a course with another explicit focus. So what we did in order to incorporate the concept into Danish, we translated the words, of course, and the skills is not as much used as the word competence is in Danish, because the understanding of competence is being competent is being able to act and to use acquired skills and knowledge in accordance with one's own values in complex, diverse, and unpredictable situations. And that's exactly what the life skills or the life competences can help for these participants. And competence is also the word we use when we talk about validation, for instance. We talk about validation of prior learning, and in Danish it's real competence. And I think there is a very strong link between life competences and prior learning. It's, well, it's more or less the same. Yeah, and this is the description of the life competence, and it's very much in line with the definition that Sari just said in the beginning from the European project. And one of the core elements is that it's about empowerment. It's about giving the participants empowerment in their own life to get the competences to solve everyday problems, whether that be going to the dentist, how to use a computer, how to get in contact with a new workplace, or whatever it could be. So what we also did is that we developed this competence flower, where we underline that to be competent, you have to act, and it's based on this critical thinking, and you have to use your skills, knowledge, and attitude as well to get it all, to get this solid foundation of the competence. And then there are the different leaves where it's the different categories in the project. They are called capabilities, the ones that Sari presented in the beginning. We made some minor changes into the ones that we agreed on in the project. For instance, we included the creativity competence because our member organizations, they found it important, because a lot of them are working with this, where we defined it as being able to build something with your hands, arts and craft, painting, drawing, music, and also the ability to use our imagination to create and solve in new ways. So we kind of developed it from the European project. Oh yeah, and what we also found very useful about the concept was that it kind of it captured the essence of what we are doing in the non-formal adult education sector, as it is a very broad sector with a very big variety of different activities. And sometimes we get the questions, what are actually the common focus for all of us? And then we introduced the life skills concept as this broad common ground for all of us. So we made a campaign where we promoted the non-formal adult education sector by using life skills, because as the course indicated on recycling design, you don't just learn what you enrolled in. You don't just learn about the needlework, you learn a lot of other things. So the slogan for the campaign was this, that you learn much more than you know when you're getting involved in the non-formal sector. So we ran this campaign in the social media with different pictures, and I just took 2 of them. There are many, and I think actually they're very good. Here's one. He's in a dancing class, and he says, I took dancing classes and learned how to stand on my own 2 feet. And another one is, I took coding classes and learned to decode other people. And we also, in the campaign, involved some ambassadors, some famous people in Denmark. A former minister of culture was involved. That's the lady here in the left corner. Her name is Marianne. She's former minister. She also had a saying about the non-formal adult education sector based on this concept, where it was the common ground for what we do. So it gave us the concept a lot of inspiration about how to involve the practices, or develop the practices, but also to promote the whole sector. And that has been very useful for us. And the outcome of the campaign has been raised awareness of the common ground for the learning providers, and they felt proud about being part of this very broad movement where we put the learner in the center and develop these life skills where you learn much more than you know.
Thank you very much. I think that any questions for Stina we should ask now, because you can't be here for the whole workshop. So there's a question from Martina, personal and social. Could you elaborate a bit on what you include here? Because since the crisis, we hear a lot that the skills people require currently are empathy, resilience, agility, and skills of this nature. Does your flower include them, or does it need an extra petal?
I would say they're very much included, as we have the personal and social skills where empathy is very important part in that. And we also have the health capability or competence, which is of course very useful now in the COVID crisis. But what we have been discussing about the flower is that it's not, and also about the definition, we have not decided to make a definition but a description in order to make it flexible, so when we see things coming up such as the crisis right now, we can adjust it, and it has this flexible structure.
Hello everybody. So my name is Niina Hjelt, and together with Virpi Markkanen, I will talk about our work in the joint project of Study Center Civis and Finnish Lifelong Learning Foundation on teaching basic skills. In our project, we have developed the Life Skills for All model, in which learning is made meaningful for the learner's everyday life. I would like to show you a video we produced at one of our trainers' workshops. The quality shown here in Zoom might not be that good, but I hope you can still hear and maybe return to it later on. Here it goes.
Kaikkien malli yhdistää ihmisiä ja on yhteisöllinen ja voimaannuttava koulutusmalli.
No olennaista on mun mielestä erityisesti se, että se on muokattavissa erilaisille ryhmille ja erilaisiin tilanteisiin ja tarpeisiin.
Kaikkien malli on motivoiva opiskelijoiden ja oppijoiden kannalta just sen takia, että se lähtökohta oppimiselle on omien vahvuuksien tunnustaminen.
Kaikkien mallista hyötyy mun mielestä erityisesti esimerkiksi sellaiset kouluttajat, jotka kaipaa jotakin uusia ideoita.
Vaikuttavan oppimisprosessin tuottaminen on mahdollista niin muodollisen koulutusasteen kuin vapaan sivistystyön tai järjestökentän piirissä silloin, kun otetaan tämä oppija siihen keskiöön.
Ratkaisukeskeinen,
testattu,
monimuotoinen,
innovatiivinen,
yksilöllinen,
joustava,
kohtauttava,
tasa-arvoinen. Okay, I hope you were able to see that. All right. So the model has been developed in collaboration with trainers, training providers, and other stakeholders. I will first tell you about the framework of the model, and Virpi will then share our experiences from our training pilots. In our project, we were commissioned to create a pedagogical model for teaching basic skills for adults. To begin with the task, we formed a vision of what basic skills are and what we really need basic skills for. And the PIAC study produced by the OECD assessed 3 areas of competence defined as basic skills for adults: literacy, numeracy, and digital skills. And the competence of Finnish adults was at a very high level by international standards. However, we also found significant gaps in basic skills. According to the study, 370,000 adults are low readers. About 450,000 adults have difficulty with basic math skills. And about 1 million Finns have poor digital skills. And our project is based on the premise that society needs everyone and everyone has the right to be part of the society. And adequate literacy, numeracy, and digital skills are basic citizen skills that enable inclusion in the information society. Inclusion requires self-efficacy and the ability to influence one's own affairs by making the right things and decisions at the right time. And similarly, deficiencies in basic skills impair an individual's ability to use and develop his or her own potential. So strengthening the basic skills of adults promotes well-being and builds the basis of a functioning and equal society. And basic skills may be deficient in different life situations and environments. Especially in a rapidly digitalizing information society, keeping basic skills up to date generates learning needs for each of us. Working online is a key part of everyday life, whether at work, study, or free time. And many functions have moved almost entirely online, so it requires a wide range of information retrieval and processing skills from each of us, such as critical media literacy. And the labor market has also changed so that there are fewer low-skilled jobs to do, and therefore it is more difficult to find permanent employment without good basic skills. Our next slide, please. So our work is based on the Citizens Curriculum model developed in England. In 2009, Learning and Work Institute published an extensive book on lifelong learning, Learning Through Life. It sets out a vision for the role of lifelong learning in promoting equal society. In addition, it includes research data on adult learning, on the basis of which the effective pedagogical implementation of guidance can be ensured. So learning is seen to take place in formal education as well as in other areas of everyday life. At the Learning and Work Institute, the understanding created by the book was put into practice when partners from the field of adult education, both formal and non-formal, were widely invited to participate in the development work. And the partners carried out training pilots in 2 phases, and the development work resulted in the Citizens Curriculum, which we have benchmarked in our project. Next slide, please. So the model has 3 core principles. There's learner engagement, local context for learning, and an interlinked combination of basic skills in training. And the first principle is putting the learner in the heart of the learning, learner orientation. So different basic skills are seen to develop by solving problems arising from the learner's needs for his or her own life. In terms of motivation and commitment to learn, it is important that the aims and content of the teaching are meaningful for the learners. And it is possible to involve learners in various stages of teaching, such as the choice of objectives, content, and methods. And in our model, learners set the course goal themselves and plan the implementation. We see that the world and change are made by people, and the aim of teaching should be to increase awareness and strengthen agency. It can only be achieved by involving learners in planning and the practical implementation of teaching. Locality is another of the core principles of the model. This refers to the linking the activity to the learner's own physical and social environment. So learning takes place as a part of a community of learners, but also as a part of a local community. Thus, in addition to the training organization, local authorities, service providers, and other organizations, for example, are involved in the planning and implementation of training. In addition, everyday learning environments such as nature or urban sites can be used extensively. The partners involved and getting to know the places to visit create contacts for the learners to continue even after the training has ended. And in our model, the importance of the social environment, such as the group and social relationships, are very central. According to the social constructivist conception of learning, a learner's knowledge and skills are built above all else in interaction with others. And third, there's the interlinked combination of basic skills. What we mean by that is that according to the model, the learning takes place when solving everyday problems. So there is a broad theme or topic for the course. And the teaching does not start with the acquisition of any skill or knowledge. Instead, the aim is to define the problem that the learner wants to solve. In practice, to solve this problem, several basic skills are developed simultaneously. And basic skills are strengthened alongside the activity, and it's the instructor's responsibility to identify and then articulate it. And in addition to the activities, the training has to include guidance as well. Virpi will give you some practical examples of our pilots in our project that are based on the model.
Yes, thank you, Nina. I will continue. I don't have a PowerPoint show, but I will show you pictures of our pilots in Savonlinna, Espoo, and Turku. One moment, I will share it with you. Okay. So my name is Virpi Markkanen and I work at Civis Study Center. Next, I will tell you about our pilot courses and our experiences. We were piloting the model in 6 pilot trainings. Every course was designed specially with our local partners. We tried to design it very appealing and based on real learning needs. Our local partners had a very essential role because they knew the circumstances and had the best understanding of our target group. We did plan a certain theme for every training, but at the same time, the theme was left open enough for a learner participation. We also had to think about the practical side, how much flexibility and support the group needs, plan the best possible schedules that will enable participation. Key elements were doing things together, working working as a group, sharing and trust. Very similar like Stine told in their model in Denmark. The main aim was to solve problems faced in learners' everyday life. Basic skills are those developed in practical problem solving. Everybody has skills and knowledge. Everybody is equal in the learning process. These basic elements stayed the same, although our groups and group themes were very different from each other. First, I will tell you about Savonlinna. In May 2019, we had a group of migrants. Our aim were to strengthen inclusion and active citizenship. Theme in our group were getting to know neighborhood, doing good for others, and learning about nature. We made different kind of field trips in the surrounding area. In Savonlinna, our second group was a group of youngsters not in education or employment. Themes in autumn's training were getting to know the surroundings, also life planning and nature. Our idea was to bring our learners to nature, pick mushrooms and berries together from the forest and prepare food from them. The goal was to increase well-being and self-confidence, improve everyone's confidence in the future and one's ability to influence one's own life. Courses were planned and organized in cooperation with local youth housing organization, Savonlinnan seudun nuorisoasunnot, and settlement community, Linnala opisto. First one with also local vocational college, Sami Edu was that. In Espoo, we had 2 pilot groups. Both groups were for local entrepreneurs. The first group developed their business plans or other challenges. Second group's theme was well-being and support for entrepreneurs working alone. General aims were to improve financial and health skills and well-being. Themes were improving the taking care of oneself and recognizing learning needs. They had some experts from the organization which were involved in the training. Peer support and sharing experiences played a major role. Course was planned and organized in cooperation with Association for NGOs in Espoo, Espoo Järjestöjen Yhdistys EY, and partners were Public Employment and Business Services, Federation for Finnish Enterprises in Espoo, and Business Espoo. Our pilot city Turku had also 2 groups. First group was planned for migrant mothers with school-aged children. General aims were cooperation with school and everyday life planning. Second pilot group was meant for migrant families. Group learned to go and enjoy Finnish nature with their families and add culture to Finnish society. Courses were planned and held in cooperation with settlement community college Aurala Opisto in Turku. Feedback was positive. Here are some quotes of our students. I like it that we actually did stuff. There was no sitting around. Other one, I wouldn't have done these things on my own. As an entrepreneur, I'm alone. I don't have a colleagues as my mirror nor medical services. Now I'm taking full advantage of this support. Academic level of our courses was varying very much depending of the target group. In other group, we were learning how to check bus timetables from internet, and other group was improving their business plans. I think this is the strength of our model. Important is also local cooperation. People learn more of their own community services and possibilities. They feel more part of their community.
So now we have talked about life skills and tailor-made trainings. So we learned that gathering a group around this certain topic or theme or learning need, you can teach several basic skills at the same time. So we would like to share you into groups of 5. And let's do a little rehearsal. You can, once you are in your breakout room, you can turn on your microphone and your video. And then in your group, please pick a target group and identify some learning need that this group might potentially have. Then pick an activity that you could do with this group. And after that, list some of the basic skills that are developed doing this activity while solving the problem of the learners. So once you have discussed in your breakout room, there's this Flinga link. Virpi put it in the chat box. So then you can click on that and then write down your group's answers to message and choose send.
Before we go, there are 2 questions. One about the financial support for this course. Was it an output from the project? And then about if there were ideas about how to go to more formal skills from life skills as a starting point.
Sorry, what was the question about the finances?
Who provided the money for this?
All right. So the project is funded by ESF, so European Social Fund.